academic integrity is being really thorough.
Right now, if I had to put it in a catchy phrase, I would say loyalty to my knowledge. For me, integrity is respecting that information came from somewhere and respecting myself for processing it.
I think it means to realize when the contribution that other people have done to your paper or to your research. So not only just reading something and citing it, but also like giving credit to the ideas that you've taken from other people or just commentaries that you've heard around.
Yeah, I feel like in high school it was just about like Wikipedia was fine as a source, or like you could just literally like Google. As long as you cited something, that was like kind of okay. But in university, it's really, that's not okay.
When I came out of high school, it was about no plagiarism, no, don't write anything without citing. I think my university experience has helped me realize that it's how much it can help the other lines of work around you. And I think, for example, citing is a good way to trace back and expand the web about, how is this one thing that you're talking about, let's say in a research paper, connect to architecture down in a different country, right? Like I said, it was a definition term, but now it's more I see it as a value now. Things that I cite, I don't cite because I have to, I cite because someone can trace what I say back to the knowledge that it came from.
So I guess doing my first paper was probably a moment where I realized I need to be super intense about where I'm getting my stuff. And just how long your bibliography or works cited page is, and how much work actually goes into a page like that. For the first English courses that you take, they actually make that a separate assignment. They make you have your full works cited page with all the different sources that you're going to use. So that's a whole project in itself. And then you start writing your paper.
First year, I was that person who complained about citing. I was that person who couldn't write a bibliography, and I was that person who would choose not to do a bibliography sometimes. What I mean by that was I didn't choose to do a styled bibliography. I would do it in a way that just made sense to me. But I think now what I understand is that the system is to just help. So if there's a set of rules, it's easy for people who don't know how to do it to easily understand your work. And citing doesn't feel like extra work anymore. And I think it just has become a part of learning instead of looking at it as if it's a policy that I have to follow.
I think it was probably in my third year when we started writing more scholarly articles that I didn't realize that we had to cite almost every single sentence, every single idea that goes into the paper. It wasn't because you don't own those ideas or those ideas aren't yours. It was more about actually everything you've learned so far will have to come from somewhere else, and you have to acknowledge that to everyone who's reading that.
Tips for first year students. Library is a big resource if you're a self-motivated learner.
If you just go and Google and type in OWL at Purdue, they have all of the citing material on that website. And the professors always recommend that because it's super thorough. So I literally have used that for every single paper that I've ever written.
Now that every time I read a paper and I find anything really interesting at all, I will just already put the citation at the beginning, what if I end up using that paper or not, because just going back to something that you might have read at the beginning is really hard. I think one of the scariest things is that, at least for me at the beginning, is that you don't really know when to cite. I think don't be afraid with it. If you're wondering, if you're curious about any of that, you just might as well just cite it. You're gonna lose nothing. And if your TA or your professor is reading it, you'll be oh, this isn't necessary, or this is fine because it's common knowledge.
The policies came out of, the rules came out of a lot of research. So maybe before thinking of it as extra work, just putting in a little extra time into understanding why this came about can be really helpful and really useful. But I think almost everyone goes through that university process of not understanding why, and then creating ideas. And I think that's how the university career progresses. You will see every part of it if you just respect the matter that you learn.